don't watch television news.
News has changed, news producers have changed, news consumers have also changed.
Unless we are indoctrinated or some such thing, it's a bit bizarre.
But yes, this is a dark time.
Even BBC was part of the World War propaganda.
It will die its own natural death.
Welcome to Straight Talks Unedited. All of us know that in this particular program, we talk about several issues of relevance and of importance. At this point of time, there is no point more important than the conflict between India and Pakistan in the recent time, which has come to a ceasefire. Now the discussion between the top officials and the government sections, both in India and Pakistan, is ongoing. And we hope that a permanent ceasefire and a permanent halt to this process will be done as the soonest. But along with this, the entire gamut of conflict issues which has come up, the role of media. The role of media in both India and Pakistan has come on focus during this conflict. Many are saying that it's basically media versus media in some cases. Now, this is a very contentious issue. So we have very senior journalists across the country to discuss that what has happened on media front, to be precise, during this particular conflict, how media reported, how well or not being done, and what's the way forward. I have a fabulous panel with me to discuss this issue. Media at war. Has the fiction shot down facts? That's the basic question we'll all try to kind of find out the next half an hour, 40 minutes. I have with me Sir Uttam Sengupta, very senior journalist and an editor. Budashib Dasgupta, senior journalist and advisor to Academic Institute, SNU. Munideepa Banerjee, another very, very senior journalist. And Shourabh Sen, political analyst and journalist. Let me start with a very, very pointed question to all of you, and then we'll get rolling from there. Let me start with Uttamda. Uttamda, how you see the media coverage, how you qualify the media coverage in the latest India-Pakistan conflict?
Well, I will start with a caveat. I don't watch television news. Particularly, I'm in Indian television channels. I don't watch news for the last 8 years, right? And I stopped watching the BBC after these developments in Gaza. After Gaza and this attack by Israel on Palestine, I realized how biased they are. And let us also not forget, that we have to thank the Americans for the term embedded journalists. And that is nothing new. When we know that even during the Gulf War, embedded journalists were there. And even earlier, the Vietnam War and so on and so forth. We know that, journalists have acted like his master's voice and amplified what the government of the day, wanted them to do. So I'm not surprised. I'm not surprised that Indian television channels and newspapers, have amplified what the government has been saying, and this has been true of Pakistan. This is true across the world. The other thing that I wanted to emphasize is that during the last, 20, 25 years, the last war that we have seen in our region was 1999, the Kargil War, right? After that, we haven't had, any war as such. And during these last 25 years, the world has changed, the media has changed, and the nature of war has also changed.
But let me go with the same question to Munideepa. Munideepa, I was looking at the fact checking that Uttamda was just mentioning, and they're saying that at least 5 viral stories in Indian television and social media are all found to be completely fiction. So basically, fiction taking over facts in many cases. You have been a television journalist for a long, long time. How you see this present, just kind of the coverage that has happened in India-Pakistan latest conflict?
I have deeper concerns. As Uttam Das said, I have seen a bit of Kargil coverage in my time on television, and after that, this. And my concerns are, more to do with what has happened to not just the media, but the entire polity in the last 25 years. And that is perhaps one of the most alarming things to me. Back in 1999, I don't think, we were the same media in Pakistan and in India, but I don't think the Indian media, at least in my remembrance, was so jingoistic. I could at least then say that we were patriotic, but not jingoistic. It is incredible what has been unleashed upon us by the media in India today. And since everything else is blocked out, I have very little idea about what is going on with the Pakistani media, except in dribs and drabs. So that is something that I'm very alarmed at. And I do feel that, a lot of it is what shall I say? There was a question that you had raised whether this is all by design or default. The misinformation storm that is blowing over us, I have a feeling that it's a little bit of both. I've been watching the DGMOs speak the last 2 days, but before that, what was our source of information? I think there is almost a throttling of information by the government, which creates a ripe ground for false news and fake news, and makes the media, and especially television media, which is looking for breaking news every minute, desperate for anything that will give them a breaking headline. So that sort of creates a ground for even the most seasoned journalists to clutch at all kinds of straw-filled headlines, which is what we have seen over the last few days.
The role and the relationship between government and the media is very much important and embedded with what has happened or what's happening. But we'll come to that. But before that, let me take the opinion of first, I think, Boroshibda and then Shorab. Boroshibda, what we can see from the analysis of the fact checker is that Indian media misreporting, post on X and news reports highlighted that Indian news channels aired false stories. I'm quote unquote, I'm quoting Grok here, such as claims of capturing Islamabad, destroying Karachi port, or forcing Pakistan Prime Minister to surrender. Also, there are stories about the Pakistan military head being jailed, and also likewise. So, and on the other side, Pakistan media, the report about Indian strikes killing 31 civilians, and also kind of downing the aircraft and so on and so forth. Philadelphia photo being picked up by the media to show for the particular conflict. How do you see this whole thing?
Joynto, I think I was listening to both Uttam and Monidipa, and I also, just like them, express concern the way media has been covering the world. I have I have concern, but at the same time, I'm not surprised. If we have this in context, I mean, media has always been a tool of propaganda. I mean, just think of in the context of the world wars, what was media doing? Even the BBC, which we were at one time we were respecting, though, as Uttam said, that we have lost all faith even in the BBC. But at one time we have been sort of having lots of faith in the BBC. Even BBC was part of the world the world war propaganda. That is how it has been made. So I'm not surprised the way the media has been used even now in times of war. But I mean, using media, I think the manner is changed. I mean, that was a very planned way of the government using the media for propagating war, the reasons why you need to go to war. But here, the media itself, they are kind of, I would say, doing it willingly on their own. They don't have to be, guided by the government to say this or that. And in their, I mean, the say over enthusiasm, they do all the kinds of and their today's and with the today's technology, I mean, trying to giving breaking news at every moment, they create stories.
Let's go to show up. Show up. How you see this? This is amazing. The kind of examples that are being come up and the kind of quite obvious misinformation and disinformation being spread around. How you see this?
Jonathan, thanks for having me today. Uh, I was listening to all of the panelists here. Now, I will concentrate on slightly different aspect, which is I think this is expected when we kind of push commercial media, especially commercial news media. I still believe, after my long years in journalism, that news is a public good. So it has to be dealt accordingly, which means news essentially leads to market failure. Now, what happens is when news becomes private good, like any other, say, detergent powder or a box of chocolate, then the marketing factors become very important. People want this. Your marketing executive, your marketing head will say, people want this kind of news. Now, what happens is, I fully agree with Monidipa that news has changed, news producers have changed, news consumers have also changed. Now, the new polity has developed its own confirmation biases, which can be created, which can be destroyed. Now, if news starts to pander to this confirmation bias, so you're essentially trying to find out what you want to hear. And if somebody is willing to supply it to you, they'll resort to all kinds of things to supply the kind of news you want to hear. And that is precisely what all of us are seeing here. That you concoct news, it's not there. And technology has become an enabler. Technology has become an enabler for people who are supplying news. Technology has become an enabler for people who can just jump into the news cycle and insert their own points of views. So these things are happening at the same time, and as a result, what we are having is a complete loss of credibility.
When the social media became dominant over the last, I think, a decade or more than that, many believe that social media will actually open up the quality of mainstream media because of the fact that it's more horizontal and vertical. Will bring a lot of inputs on the table and will push the mainstream media to do better. But it seems that at least in the last war or the conflict between India and Pakistan, it actually worked the other way around. The mainstream media depended a lot on social media. The mainstream media houses picked up materials from WhatsApps and others and then used it as the materials. And actually, the quality seems to be, as you are all putting up, actually hasn't improved. It hasn't gone the other way around. So how do you see the social media, mainstream media relationship, and is the main social media has started to dominate the mainstream media? We have seen in Bangladesh how it has happened. The social media was all over and pushing the mainstream media to do a certain kind of reporting. I remember one doctor I came across many years back in fringe area of Kolkata who said that now all the MBBS doctors have to push the medicines which are not supposed to be because the because the quacks are doing that. So that's a kind of situation. So how do you see that this interface between social media and the mainstream media?
You see, social media is powerful precisely because it is giving you information in real time. And no media outlet can really, compete with social media because no media outlet can afford to have, people on the ground everywhere at the same time. So obviously, there are limitations of the mainstream media. And what we see, during the last few years is that mainstream media is, as you rightly said it, that they are picking up, news, from social media, and they are merely using it. And that is one of the reasons why sometimes, they make horrendous mistakes, right? That is one. The other thing is that I don't quite agree with other panelists when they say that it is because of the inexperience of the anchors and the journalists that this kind of a narrative, we are seeing, on television channels and so on. I think, it is by design. I cannot believe for a moment that even the junior most reporter or the dumbest of anchors, can cook up, this kind of information. There has to be a source. What is that source? Is it a news agency? Is it,
So, Uttara, you feel it's
is
more
it the
by
Air
design, not
Force?
by default. It's more by
Absolutely,
design, not by default.
absolutely, absolutely. And I am strengthened in that belief by what this so-called analyst, Major Arya, said, defending, his falsifications. He said that this is a weapon of war, propaganda, false
Right.
propaganda is a weapon of war. And he was trying to confuse the enemy. He was trying to confuse the enemy by spreading all these, falsehoods, right? He also, quoted Hitler. And he said, okay, it is nothing new. Hitler had done it, right? Now, what he forgets is that you cannot, compare 1939 with 2025. The communication landscape has totally changed. You can't hide it. You may like to think that you are confusing the enemy, but in the process, you are confusing your own people. You are
Right.
sending confusing signals to your own people. You are sending confusing signals to others, and in the process, you are making a laughing stock of yourself. People in the rest of the world, they're laughing at these Indian television channels and so on.
Manadipa, you go with that. That is the social media dominating the mainstream media. And I was just looking at some of the data as I was hearing Tamda. There was a report that Lahore, Indian kind of Navy has gone to Lahore, Lahore being a landlocked city. So that's amazing kind of information being spread around. So how do you see Manadipa, the social media kind of taking over mainstream media too?
Can I ask a question? What
Sure,
is the
sure. Why not?
source?
The
What
very
is the
prevailing
source?
discussion.
Whether it is Lahore or Karachi or Islamabad, from where did they pick this up? That is my question. What is the
Social
source?
media. Social
Social
No, no,
media.
media.
no, not even social media.
That's the question I'm
Monidipa.
putting up.
No,
Where
no,
did
no,
the
no.
social media get the story?
Exactly, exactly.
Chunda,
So I don't know why should we call it
wait a
social
minute,
media
wait a
or any
minute.
other media. But anyway, Manideepa.
I just want to remind you that one of the most dramatic interviews is, are you getting me? Yeah.
yeah,
One
yeah.
of the most dramatic interviews in the coverage of this war has been by the Defense Minister of Pakistan, Mr. Khwaja, I think. That was the most astonishing. Are you hearing me? Can you hear me?
Yes.
Yes, yes.
Yes.
Hello? Can you
Yes,
hear me,
this
Yeah,
I
Uttamda?
can hear you.
Okay, that was the most astonishing because repeatedly, wait, this was not, this was a lady on CNN and she was questioning this gentleman and she asked him about the Pakistan Air Force bringing down a Rafale, if not one Rafale, five aircraft, one of them at least, is supposed to be an Indian Rafale. And so she kept insisting that what is the source of your information? And the defense minister of that country, he says, why? There are social media all over in
Absolutely.
Right.
India.
Exactly the question.
So it
Right.
has to be, that's his source. So given, yeah. So given
And he
that,
also said,
it's
not in
absolutely
our social
absurd the
media, in
way that
Indian social media.
in India's,
He also
it
mentioned.
was astonishing how anybody in a position of that kind of responsibility can say this. So after that, if I have India Today's Gaurav Sawant suddenly dropping a bomb late on the night of 7th or 8th, I'm sure bhule jache, that the Indian naval ship had attacked Karachi. And then they went on to show some little video or some, dirt blowing around on some street and saying that, so where did he get his source from? Logically speaking, as a television person, I can tell you that the anchor was in studio. That particular anchor that day was in studio. He wasn't even looking at his phone. So where did he get the information that Karachi had been taken?
Social media misinformation, so many of them. This is the unending list. But at the point that is being made, the social media kind of influencing mainstream media, just as right now Manideepa was mentioning, Uttamda was mentioning. Uh,
Look,
is that the future of media, mainstream
yeah,
media?
let us accept the reality. Yes, social media is a reality, and social media will continue to be a source of much of our information. But then, I mean, as technology has changed, uh, I mean, the method of using technology, that is also has to be learned, that has to be implemented. I mean, it's not that it is not being done. In all over the world, there they are developing professional people to fact check all the information that is circulating in the social media. Any of the major newspaper houses, whether it has to be whether it is in Europe or in US, they have a specialized fact checking organization. Even if they don't have it in house, they have to hire something of a fact checking method, and every whatever they use, whether in television, whether in the newspapers, that has to be fact checked. But I'm surprised, in India, there is nobody's bothered.
Just a
You,
quick
that
point on what
the
Bhavan
verification,
said.
why
Yeah.
it can't
No.
be verified,
See, I'm
or
telling
you
you,
don't want to get it verified.
no. In real time, I'll tell you what the joke is going around newsrooms. That it's actually Raw's failure that all the news channels in this country together suddenly said, Karachi taken. I mean, every newsroom reacting in the same way to a piece of information that was supposedly taken off social media. It's a bit bizarre. Unless we are indoctrinated or some such thing, it's a bit bizarre.
Manindra just raised a very important point. One channel can show Karachi port being of whatever, but everybody saying the same thing, picking up from some unverified social media source is bizarre. As Uttam pointed out, it looks more by design rather than default. How you see it?
Yes, that's very bizarre. That's very alarming, and that is also. I would refer back to what I said earlier that if you are selling news like you are selling chocolates, then if A is selling chocolate, I also might as well sell chocolates. But having said that, uh, my sense is, print journalism in India, having started its journey earlier, has more stringent internal controls. Monideepa would be able to elaborate on the kind of control television media has, and we all know what kind of control social media has. But my sense is, I'll give you a very interesting example from my days with the journalism, where I had to fight with this gentleman who's part of the panel almost every day on a daily basis. He's my boss, my former boss, Uttamda. Whenever I took any uh, bit of story to him, I had to fight it out. Now he's there, he won't let that story on the public domain unless and until he's convinced that it can go on. I remember in 2001 or 2000, there was a massive showdown between BSF and Border Guards Bangladesh. Then they used to call it BDR. And there were huge reporting, usual jingoistic reporting from the Indian side. And Uttamda said, you go to Bangladesh and report it from that side. Now, this validation process, I don't know how many newspapers, it's not that they are not capable of doing it. So I kind of agree with Uttamda that it's by design. If they wanted to do a validation check, they can easily do it.
Uttam, we all now understood. We knew it. I think all of you had explained it. How this kind of taking the war, this the India-Pakistan conflict, recent conflict in the focus, how the journalism is being working around. But is it that simple as that? What I'm trying to ask you, there's two ways. One is the TRP, especially the audiovisual media. The TRP, we have to grab everything, headlines as soon as possible. And that in turn influencing social media, influencing audiovisual media. That in turn is influencing the print media. I have seen many of my friends, I'm not going to name them, they are picking up stories just looking at the television. Some event happening in Kolkata, they are not going there at the spot, just picking up from the television channel and reporting it. So it's a very bizarre sequence on social media influencing audiovisual media, in turn influencing the print media. But my question is, apart from this TRP race, also the government influence. The TRP race and the government, be it USA, be it India, be it Pakistan, be it anywhere else, these two things are working in tandem. How you see these two phenomena working in tandem, impacting the media output?
You see, one is that the newsroom have been politicized. I mean, the media landscape, I mean, today, I mean, you won't, I mean, maybe, I mean, you will get a few people, but not many, I mean, who are not politically, I mean, indoctrinated, right? That is one. The second thing is that the government of the day, at least in our country, I mean, has driven the fear of God into journalists and writers and others. And they have been told that it is not really, I mean, fine to ask questions. Don't ask questions. Don't contradict the government. Don't demand accountability. Don't, I mean, ask for any answers, right? That is what has happened. The third thing is, I mean, laziness. Our journalists have become, I mean, far too lazy. Because how is it that a small alt news team and Zubair could, I mean, debunk, I mean, Pakistani propaganda in real time throughout the night of the 7th? I mean, they kept on, I mean, debunking that no, I mean, this is wrong, this is wrong, this is wrong, this is fake, this is fake. This. If 5 or 6 or 10 people, I mean, in alt news, I mean, could have done that in real time, I don't see, I mean, why, I mean, media outlets, I mean, cannot, I mean, do this. And by the way, I mean, many of these television channels have actually fact-checking units. I mean, India today has a fact-checking unit, and which is, of course, I mean, laughable that you have a fact-checking unit and still, I mean, you spread, I mean, fake news. But that is the tragedy that you have a fact-checking unit, but you don't tell your sources, you cannot attribute it to any source, and you don't even have the ability or the diligence, I mean, to verify it. I mean, I cannot pick up anything, I mean, from anywhere and say that, look, I have not verified it. If you have not
Absolutely.
verified it and if you are not sure about it, I mean, why are you, I mean, showing it?
This piece of news has not been independently verified by us. That has become the most common little, jargon on television news and print media in the last many years of, journalism that I've been watching. The second thing is, we are also members of a society. And this entire country is paying the price of what we have become in the last many years. Otherwise, can you explain to me on social media people attacking Mr. Misri, of all things, so badly that he has had to shut down his, X profile, as well as taking on that lady, the widow, for whom this entire Operation Sindoor is being fought, as it were, Himanshi. I mean, they attacked her for apparently wearing lipstick when she was talking to a journalist.
I mean, you said at some point, how do we cover war? Now, today's warfare you cannot cover because you do not know what is happening. Things are developing in lightning speed, right? You are not there. So, what do? I mean, you say that, okay, the government of India, I mean, says this, government of Pakistan says this. This news agency has reported that, which seems a little implausible, right? That this channel is saying that, well, Karachi port has been attacked, but that doesn't seem to be the case. Or Lahore port, and there is no port in Lahore. That is all that you can do. And I am appalled that even this bit is not being done. But
Okay,
yes, this is a dark time.
this is a dark time. Manideepa, your take on that? The credibility doesn't matter.
think credibility is key. Otherwise, what you are putting out there as news is so questionable. I mean, would you believe it? Would you believe it? I mean, I have to ask myself the question that, if a television channel is saying this, can I believe this? Or if a newspaper is saying that, should I be reading between the lines? It's a terrible task, believe me, especially for a working journalist who is trying to hang on to some of the basic values of this business. So, as Tonda said, very dark times and challenging to be optimistic in such a situation, but I guess one has to be.
Okay. Shivda,
Yes,
credibility out of the window.
I agree with both of them. We are passing through dark times, but all is not lost. Yes, like for example, even this. I'll give you one small example, like the way things. There is positive stories made even in this dark times. Like for example, there's the Maksar story in print, for example. A science correspondent, Shoma
Yes,
Pillai,
very good story. And
this
history.
she has come up. I mean, trying to find the link between the Pahalgam murder and and the link with the Pakistan. That is being questioned. India has not been given the evidence, but this girl has found that I mean, there were 30 high resolution pictures created by the Maxar company, the American company, was bought by a Pakistani, Ubaidullah, and through his company BSI.
Today, for the last few days, Pakistan has few earthquakes, and some tweet has happened, which is saying because of the some nuclear experiments being done, that might be the reason for this earthquake, and that is being taken up by media and being done as a story. So, I will see this.
Yes. The truth lies somewhere out there.
Again, it fits into that confirmation bias. You're just trying to reconfirm your confirmation bias.
Yeah.
Now, on the bigger question, I see it this way, that any news media has to answer basic 4 questions. Am I safe? Is my family safe? What kind of world I'm in? And what kind of world I'm likely to go into tomorrow? If a news organization cannot answer these 4 questions satisfactorily, day after day after day, it cannot survive. It will die its own natural death.